Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Yesterday we had Gamescom 2025 and it was a little bit disappointing. I can't really say there was too many great announcements. We had the announcement of a Lego Batman game and yeah, that's pretty much it. But the biggest thing to come out of Gamescom for me was that Lasers gave me a massive shout out on his stream. I wasn't even aware that Lasers knew who I was, and to be fair, he did spend a long time trying to find my channel, so he probably didn't know either. But he fully reacted to my most recent rant on his live stream, and he gave me a shout out, and it was amazing. I've never thought that he even knew who I was. So big thank you to Lasers. I'm going to insert the clip here because he strokes my ego, and I would like to make sure everybody sees that.
This guy. Willis makes movies. Good guy. 8.9k subs? Fuck, he should have way more. Dude. What the fuck are we talking about? This guy's carrying AC content. This is, I had more than him. What the fuck are we doing? Where have all my fans gone? Go to this guy. Who you watching? The Spaniard? What, AI content? The hidden one? No. Fucking watch this guy. Authentic stuff. Go watch this guy. This guy's great. We love Willis Makes Movies.
So big shout out to Lasers. I literally grew up watching your videos when I was 14, 15, which is kind of crazy. So I feel like I've made it now that I've had you acknowledge my existence. He said I reminded him of a younger him. Thank you to everybody who's new, who's came over and subscribed thanks to that live stream. It's great to have you on board. And unfortunately now we have to talk about the lack of Assassin's Creed updates. Now, I'm not saying that I went into Gamescom fully expecting any kind of Black Flag announcement, Shadows update, anything like that. But I was ready to be pleasantly surprised. I was hoping that one last thing at the end would be something relating to maybe the Black Flag remake, even just a clip of a pre-rendered cutscene of Edward walking down the bow of a ship, something like that, just something to tease us that the Black Flag remake is coming, and we didn't get anything. There's no news coming out. But what we did get this morning was news from Tom Henderson, very infamous updates, leaker, news kind of guy in the world of gaming. He let us know that Ubisoft aren't really looking to push Black Flag until summer next year, which means that we have got nearly an entire year without any news, which is really fascinating. It means that Black Flag is nowhere near as sort of far along the pipeline as personally I thought it was going to be. On my podcast with the Exile, the Odyssey, we have speculated for many weeks about when we think the AC4 remake is going to be rumoured or revealed or any kind of announcements, and we sort of gravitated around sort of winter this year into spring next year. Personally, I thought it was going to be announced similar to when Shadows was put back on to sort of the marketing system, which was in January of last year. I figured that January of 2026 is when we'd get news of Assassin's Creed 4's remake officially being unveiled. Unless they were going to do an Oblivion remastered situation where they just shadow dropped it. In that case, I wouldn't expect any news of an announcement up until it happened. But with Tom Henderson tweeting out today about Ubisoft not wanting to show off the Black Flag remake, not only is it further confirmation that yes, of course, this terribly kept secret is real, but also that they're not going to shadow drop it. It is going to be some kind of marketing campaign. We're going to get trailers, we're going to get promotion. I think it's probably not going to be to the level of a mainline Assassin's Creed entry. I think, depending on what it is, if it's a full from-the-ground remake, then yes, I think they are going to push it just as much as they would a normal Assassin's Creed game. But if it is a little bit of a smaller sort of side thing just to coast people over until Hexe or Invictus comes out, I think it's going to be along the lines of the Ezio collection where they just put out a trailer with a release date and they just sort of create a deluxe edition or some sort of, promo to get you to buy the game. I don't think we're going to be getting TV spots for this thing because, frankly, the marketing for Black Flag was already very heavily dependent on CG trailers that looked really good. But I think if you just started to do more of those, people wouldn't think it's a new game, because unless cinematic trailers have came a long way since the Black Flag one, personally, I don't really see the difference these days. And I don't think, unless he looks totally different or they do a whole new approach to the way they market the game, I think people would get a bit confused and think that it is just more promotion for that original game. With that said, I'd now like to get into some of my theories on why Black Flag is being delayed this long, and I should emphasize ahead of time, this is not me giving any concrete sources. I've no sources, no information on anything to do with the Black Flag remake. But I do have a couple of theories that came to me as to why this may be taking until summer next year. Why is it taking so long to get this thing ready? And I want to start off with the worst case scenario, which is that it's a mess. I don't know if this is the case. Like I say, I have no sources, I have no proof. But the worst case scenario for why this is going to take another year to come out is because it may be a mess behind the scenes. We know this is the we know this is the Skull and Bones team making the Black Flag remake, and those guys took 9 years or something to get that game out since it was announced. So I don't have a lot of faith in them producing a product quickly, unless it's a totally different team. Like I say, I can't imagine after Skull and Bones' quote-unquote success that they would have kept many of the team around. They probably would have moved them onto a different project. So I am not expecting the Black Flag remake to have the same team as Skull and Bones, even if it's from the same studio, if that makes sense. I imagine proper Assassin's Creed experts have been flown in to sort of support the thing, but like I say, that's speculation. If it is a mess on the level of Skull and Bones, then I can fully see this getting delayed again. We've heard a couple of people who, we don't know if they're reliable or not, but some people have apparently seen screenshots of the Black Flag remake. They've been tweeting it out a few months ago and they said, wow, you're not ready for how good this looks. And it's okay, but we haven't seen anything yet. And depending on this first announcement, the first thing we see officially of the Black Flag remake, that is going to really solidify if they need more time or if this thing is actually ready to go. And I do think currently it's probably nowhere near ready. So that's the worst case scenario, that we're just going to get a very messy, buggy game. Maybe the remaster is not working. Maybe they're trying to coat on top of the original, like the Halo Anniversary games, like Oblivion Remastered that just came out. Maybe they're trying to do the same thing where they just coat Unreal Engine on top of the original. Maybe it's not working and they have to go back to square one. I don't know, but that is the worst case scenario, is that we're not getting a good game at the end of this. But thankfully, I do think there are some good reasons as well. So one thing that stood out to me in particular, I think a lot of these will be around Shadows, because of course Shadows had many reasons why that was delayed. It's had updates since, and we're going to get into that. So first of all, let's talk about the fact that Assassin's Creed Shadows was delayed nearly 6 months, I think, by the end of the delays. It had 2 delays. One of them was in October, it was delayed to February, and then it was delayed to March or April. I don't remember. There was that many delays, I can't even remember the official release date of Shadows. They knew at Ubisoft that Shadows was a make or break situation because they wanted to get Assassin's Creed, Far Cry and Rainbow Six in their own little division, and they wanted to get them sold to Tencent in order to keep Ubisoft thriving by making different games and not being sort of stuck in those franchises. So they took what worked and they sold it off to Tencent. Thanks to the success of Shadows being, I think, the 3rd highest game in the series, or it might even be the 2nd. I think it beat Odyssey in the end. It was a really good selling game. Even if the critical response to it was a little bit mixed, especially from the fans, Shadows was a massive success in terms of how much money it made and how many copies it sold, which means that Ubisoft were able to compartmentalize Assassin's Creed and sort of send it over to Tencent. Which is maybe not a good thing, but it is what ended up happening, and that is why I think Assassin's Creed Shadows was delayed, because they needed to produce a very well-rounded and polished product, and for the most part, I think they did that. I think, on a technical level, Shadows was quite good. Unless it's on that shitty PC I've got there, which still cannot run this game. Unless it's on ultra-low settings. So maybe the delay of Shadows has resulted in the Black Flag remake also being pushed back, and we sort of expected this, Because Shadows was delayed by 6 months, I expected, okay, Black Flag is going to come out 6 months later than it would have originally. It looks like that's not the case, though. It is going to come out much later than expected, like an additional 4 months. I think it's possibly 8 months after it would have originally came out, which either tells us that, like Shadows, they're going to put more time into it and refine it and make it a well-polished package, or that it is just a case of Shadows has came out later, so Black Flag has to come out later as well. And I do have a theory for this. I do have a theory, because if they are planning to announce it after the summer of 2026, that tells me that we're going to be getting a holiday season release date, maybe an October or November release date, because they're not going to shadow drop it, because they wouldn't have sort of announced that they're going to announce the game. So I think what is going to happen is, and I wonder if, because Shadows was not able to make the November 15th original release date, that might be an attempt from Black Flag to recapture that date. Because there could be other games that now go, oh, Assassin's Creed no longer comes out in November, we can hijack that spot, we can release our game during that time instead. So what they may be thinking with the Black Flag remake is, okay, let's reset the clock a bit, let's make sure that Black Flag comes out in November so we recapture that release date. And that would make a lot of sense to me. Or, the plus side, it could also mean there's more time to make the game better. Now, Shadows has had 2 roadmaps so far. They've been releasing monthly, sometimes bi-weekly updates to Shadows that improve things like the parkour. They're adding extra quests, they're doing little quality of life changes, and that's all good. The devs are clearly supporting Shadows up until the Claws of Awaji. After the Claws of Awaji, we don't know what's happening next, but I do have a theory, because Black Flag is going to come out at least after the summer of next year. It means that Shadows is going to get a full year of support, because why would they sort of stop the updates to Shadows if they still need to keep things churning until Black Flag gets announced? So, the potential of getting that second DLC for Shadows, I think, is now quite high. I wasn't too sure originally, because I thought if Black Flag is coming out in the spring of next year, then Shadows can only really be supported until like November, December. But it looks like it may actually get another 6 months of updates and support. So the opportunities here for Shadows have now flown through the roof, in my opinion. I think they now have the potential to do a lot more. The only thing that's going to depend on it is the reception, I think, to the Claws of Awaji, the amount of people who buy it additionally, the pre-order people who come back to play the game. I think the player base needs to skyrocket in order to justify getting another DLC expansion. Obviously, this will all lead to new shop skins, which will hopefully lead to more money. So on a monetization level, I think that is what is going to depend on what happens during the 6 months from January next year to when Black Flag is announced. I think, hopefully, I mean, I would love Shadows to get more content. If Shadows had a full redemption arc, where it got all these different side quests, like the Rufino one, like the Lewis Frous one, just ones that add a little bit more depth, a little bit more context, that would be amazing. And it sounded like, from that Reddit AMA, which although was not great last week, they did say that they wanted to explore the Templars and Assassins more. So at least creatively, I think letting these guys cook with Shadows for as long as possible is a good thing, and I really hope that that is the case. And I'm glad to hear that we're not just moving straight on to the next Assassin's Creed game. A bit like with Odyssey and Valhalla, they're gonna get those additional years of support with a team that is actually listening to the fans. In some cases. So my final reason I can think of as to why Black Flag is coming out later than expected is because of the hype. And this is going to sound like this is my flimsiest reason out of all of them. It's why I've saved it till last. But Matt Ryan, whether it was scripted or not, personally I think it was scripted that first time. Matt Ryan was at a convention and he leaked a little bit of detail. He said, oh, you know, you may be able to play Black Flag again in the future, which sort of led people to go, okay, the Black Flag remake is real. And then another guy came up to him a few weeks later and said, is it a remake or a sequel? Is it a remaster? And he was like, whoa, okay, look, I did the one thing. Ubisoft tried to sue me, which I don't know if that's true or not, but it certainly gets people to stop asking him questions, so it makes his convention circuits easier. Hype has gotten a little bit out of hand. I think that this was supposed to be something that was sort of drip-fed to us, but alongside Pure Arts sort of just openly announcing that there's going to be a new Edward statue in their statues range for Assassin's Creed. Guys, I have bought the Connor one. I'm very excited. That's arriving in December. So Pure Arts, I have given in to your marketing campaign. But also, like with Matt Ryan and the cosplay guy, this infamous cosplay guy who everybody thinks is working for Ubisoft. Well, he has worked with Ubisoft in the past. He's teasing his new Black Flag outfit, which looks a little bit different to what it looked like in the original. There's a few little differences which make people go, oh, this guy is like clearly teasing the Black Flag remake. So the question is all of this real hype, or was it actual leaks? Were all of these three individual things mistakes that weren't meant to happen, or were they intentional? Were they meant to build up hype? Because in that case, they've done it way too soon, and I wonder if now people know about the Black Flag remake, there are now certain expectations from the fans, and while I don't think for 1 second that Ubisoft would listen to the fans' hype and expectations in the remake and implement that into the game, they could. There is still a part of me that thinks they've seen how excited people are for Black Flag and thought, oh, we could maybe put a little bit more money into this. We could spend a little bit more time and try and meet the expectations. Because when it comes to Black Flag, I think everybody in the community can agree. It's not just one of those games that you can remaster. This, for a lot of people, was not only their childhood, but it is definitively the best Assassin's Creed game. And I will hold my hands up. AC3 is my favourite Assassin's Creed game, but I cannot overlook the fact Black Flag is the best. And I don't know if Ubisoft feel that way, because Ubisoft love as AC2 Ezio these days. They love Odyssey, they love showing Cassandra in all of their crossovers. But I think Black Flag is the best Assassin's Creed game, without a shadow of a doubt. I would say that very concretely. And it deserves more than just a remaster. You know, they could have done this ages ago. They could have just done an Ezio collection, but with, like, Black Flag, Rogue, and 3. They could have just done that, but they didn't. And that made me think they know Black Flag is special. They know that a lot of fans of Assassin's Creed and RPG fans are going to connect with this game, because Black Flag is the perfect blend of both. And so I do hope that the reason for this delay, the reason for the hype, is because they know they're onto something special here and that the Black Flag remake can really deliver. Or, you know, it could just be the Skull and Bones team being told to throw something together last minute like the Ezio collection was, so I don't know, let's see what we get. What do you think about the Black Flag remake though? Do you think that the reason it's coming out after the summer is because of good reasons or bad reasons? Let me know down below what are your theories on this Black Flag remake delay. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video, subscribe for more Assassin's Creed content. I think we can make it to 10k subs by the end of the year. I'm just throwing that out there. We have just over 3 months left in the year. I think we can get to 10k subs. Make it happen. And thank you, Lasers, for contributing to that happening. And I will see you in the next video.